Let me just go ahead and read this headline for you folks. Fox News poll. Voters say White House is doing more harm than good on economy.
This as a new poll finds about 70% of Americans say groceries are more expensive now than they were a year ago. And about 60% of them are blaming President Trump.
But the issue of affordability, the issue of how people feel about the economy popping up in our latest polls, personal financial situation now, excellent, good, 40%, only fair or poor, 60%. You can see that changing from July. Condition of the U.S. economy, also a perception totally upside down, 76 to 25, and that changing a bit. And then economic conditions for the nation and you personally, again, 25% positive, 76 negative for the nation, and then 60-40 personally.
That's right. A new national Fox News poll has delivered a grim message for the Trump administration this festive season. 76% of voters now view the national economy negatively. That includes rising costs on groceries, housing, utilities, and healthcare, burdens that many Americans now trace directly back to where they should, the White House. Only 38% of respondents approve of how Trump is handling the economy, while his overall job approval rating has fallen drastically to his lowest point since returning to office. So in short, the great economy narrative that Trump continues to spread and helped carry him back into power somehow is unraveling fast.
So the entire U.S. economy growth can be tracked down to 7 companies and their AI growth specifically. At least 40% of economic growth this year is attributed to these companies alone, and 80% of stock gains this year came from AI companies. But people are justifying these levels of investment because of the promises that the CEOs make that there will be a return on that investment. So for a company like OpenAI, their value is based on the expectation that they're going to figure out how to make a profit out of it. And they haven't. And so generating this increased human dependency that can be mined, because it's not subject to HIPAA. Is that correct, Dr. King?
Right, it's not subject to HIPAA.
It's not subject to HIPAA. So people's deepest fears, secrets, emotional content, relationships can all be mined for this empty promise that we're getting from these companies to turn a profit. And the reason I bring all of this up is because the exposure of this industry and this investment, I fear, has reached broad levels, potentially, of the American economy. When we're talking about 40% of stock growth in the United States being attributed to these companies in the AI sector alone, and that sector has not turned a profit, we're talking about a massive economic bubble. And when we've seen, depending on the exposure of that bubble, we could see 2008-style threats to economic stability.
And the timing couldn't be worse, right? We're heading into the festive period. People want to spend, but prices on everyday goods, from food to gifts to travel, they're climbing sharply. Retail analysts say that households are tightening their belts, delaying purchases, and scaling back celebrations. When you look at consumer confidence, the surveys show a clear drop heading into December, with Americans reporting anxiety about their financial outlook and fears of more price hikes ahead. I mean, when families feel the squeeze during the holidays, economic dissatisfaction becomes deeply personal and then politically devastating.
I mean, just your costs are up versus a year ago. Groceries, 85%. Utilities, 78%. Healthcare, 67%. Housing, 66%. Gasoline, 54%. Right. The bottom line is this. Americans feel like prices are rising in each and every single part of their lives, rising ever climber, and they just don't feel like, Kate Baldwin, that they can catch a break.
The Treasury Secretary in new comments kind of dismissed the impact tariffs is having on inflation, also saying that prices are going to be coming down in weeks. Some other prices are going to be coming down in months. What do Americans think about that?
Yeah, they think he's full of it. That's exactly what they think. I mean, just take a look here. Tariffs raising prices right now. I'm going to come over Kate's side of the screen, 71%.
How dare you?
How dare I do that? 84% of Democrats, 74% of independents, and even a majority of Republicans. When you can get a majority of Republicans to agree with majority of Democrats, you know that the pain is being felt by the American public right now. The Treasury Secretary can try and tell the people something, but they can feel in their pocketbooks. They simply put, don't buy what he and this administration is selling them when it comes to tariffs.
You know, and Harry, one thing we've heard over and over again is the president and many of those around him blaming the Biden administration for where inflation is right now. Do people agree with that?
No. You know what? I want to quote Judge Judy, but I'm not going to. I'm merely going to try and say that it's like they're trying to sell ice up at the North Pole when it comes to this. More responsible for the current economy. 62% of Americans say it's Donald Trump. Just 32% say it's Joe Biden. Look, Donald Trump did, in fact, inherit an economy from Joe Biden. But now we are nearly a year into the Donald Trump administration. If the Trump administration is trying to push the book over there, simply put, the American folks aren't buying it. They say at this point it is Donald Trump's economy, and what is happening in terms of inflation is his responsibility.
That's what happens when you become president.
Who knew? You know what?
You inherit the economy.
That's exactly right. If you want the power, you get the power. But with great power comes great responsibility.
Oh, Harry Enton and the quotes. Thank you so much, my dear. John?
Well, if you were to tune into Fox News, where clearly viewers aren't too happy, this is what Fox hosts are suggesting this holiday season.
Budget. You need a plan. Also remember, adults don't need gifts, okay? Focus on the people in your life who are age 3 to 18. Grandma doesn't need slippers. If they don't live by you, don't get them a gift. Now's not the time to spend and break the bank sending packages across the country, Dana. Focus on the people in your life, ages 3 to 18. That's my 30 seconds for you.
We've went from, we're saying Merry Christmas again, to screw grandma's slippers. She doesn't need them. And as I've said time and time again, you can try to spin most things when you're Trump as fake news. I mean, he's the master of deflection. But you cannot lie to people about what is in, or in this case, isn't in their wallet.
Prices are up in the United States for coffee. It's up almost 20%. Utility, up 11.7%. And then electricity is up 5.1%. And vehicle repair, if you need your car fixed, it's up 11.5%.
But let me ask you the question I asked again. So the tariffs have been removed from these items that many of us buy at the grocery store. How soon do we expect the prices on those goods now to go down?
Right. Well, the prices for those goods weren't necessarily going up just because of tariffs. And so the prices will go down. Well, the prices will go down, of course. But
because the tariffs have been taken off.
Right. Well, and because the supply of the goods into the U.S. is going to increase.
Trump sold people on him being Mr. Art of the Deal. So when that goes away, what's left to support? His ability to weave to 30 different topics during a conversation, or his ability to nap on cue?
It doesn't matter. I mean, this is a two-party town. People are going to show up and they're going to vote either for Donald Trump's party or for the people who are running in opposition. You say we don't have a leader of the party. And I thought Eric Swalwell missed opportunity. Mikey Sherrill is the leader of the party. Abigail Spanberger is the leader of the party. And we do have a message. It's affordability, however it shows up in your state or your district. So in New Jersey, you're talking about energy costs. In Virginia, you're talking about building more affordable housing and cutting red tape. And you are seeing this, and props to you guys actually for being so reasonable about this, because sometimes you feel like Republicans don't want to admit that there are any problems. Another shout out to my colleague who isn't here. But you see people
saw
like
Laura Ingraham last night.
I literally, the midterms look ugly right now unless Republicans really get serious from Laura Ingraham. And it's a waste of Republicans' time to worry about us. I see all these stories like Dems in disarray. 68% of Americans say their financial situation is getting worse. 65% say that Donald Trump isn't lowering their cost of living, focused elsewhere. And the Democratic lead on the generic ballot is getting into blue wave, possibly tsunami territory, because there's no plan. ACA subsidies extension, 70% approval rating. Donald Trump tries to do it. And the caucus says, actually, no, we don't want to do that. We'll just have no health care plan for the rest of time.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.